The Collector killed Korg? Hey man, why'd you do that? That wasn't cool. What the heck is going on, guys? We are back again with another Pretentious review. And what a show we have for you guys today.
Oh, boy.
It is What If, episode 2 from Marvel on Disney+. Of course, I am Justin, the Culture Coyote, and joining me as always is the Disney Grizzly, Lucas.
Hi.
If you like this content, you can get more by subscribing to our channel here, as well as TikTok. And if you want to keep up with the latest in pop culture news, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter as well. And support our partners, Adventures by Abels and In the Bat Loop. And then visit our friend's store, the third member of Pretentious Pop Culture's website, Jake's Designs RW, for great merchandise, including our own and other interesting clothing designs. All links in the description. Now, before we get into this episode, Lucas, a couple things I wanted to cover here. Venom 2, there might be, like, unconfirmed, but it looks like J.K. Simmons will be reprising his J. Jonah Jameson role for that movie. And that's pretty exciting.
That is very exciting.
This interconnectivity. We've already gotten Tom Hardy is talking about maybe being in Morbius. So we already know that Michael Keaton is in Morbius. So yeah. the possibilities, of course, we
got the rumor drop that not rumor drop, but more rumor confirmed that Tom Hardy was in Morbius too, or at least a cameo.
That's what I just said that. It's a rumor.
I thought you just said rumors. Tom Holland. I'm sorry.
Did I say Tom Holland? Okay, no, not Tom Holland. Not Tom Holland. Tom Hardy, the other Tom. And I also saw a meme. I saw a meme too. I didn't give this Lucas, but I saw a meme today that was, I think it was fake, but it was like Chris Pine in talks to join the Marvel universe, and it was simply like underneath it was like they finally got all the Chris's. So I don't know if it was a joke for them to like have like Chris Pratt, Chris Pine, Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, like all the Holy Trinity or the Holy Quadrillion.
The horsemen, the four horsemen of the
yeah. And so I'm wondering if that's true. You can look it up, but we'll figure it out later on. I think it's fake. And then of course we got a new trailer for the Eternals, which I have not seen yet.
I did watch it.
Okay. Do you want what do you think?
I'm more psyched for that movie now than I was. It gave us some plot, which was nice. It also gave us exposition that I didn't need to see in a trailer, but I'm glad I have it now. So, like one of the big questions was, why weren't the Eternals involved in Endgame or Infinity War or with Thanos? And they were busy. They bluntly said that they were not only allowed to be involved in things that did not involve humans. Humans had to deal with human problems.
Sounds like excuses to me.
And there's something called deviants that they fight. I don't know anything about Eternals. I just know it's something that was made by Jack Kirby, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't know what deviants are. I just know Eternals are like celestial beings. They show us one of the Celestials in the actual trailer, which was cool. We see the villain.
Okay.
We see a lot of their powers too. So we see.
Okay, I'll have to watch it.
Yeah, I think this is gonna be knowing you and what you like. I think this might be in your top couple Marvel movies from your style of what you like from Marvel. Or just, I don't know. Just movies in general. It's looks very you.
I like all the Marvel movies. I mean, some they just have to say the word Marvel on it for me. Like Obviously, we're
most
not
of us can
talking
eat it
like
up if it's just
Venom. It's
Marvel.
Venom
But
2. I mean, even like we've discussed Black Widow. I mean, I don't want to get too long winded, but it's like Black Widow has some major problems. Is it still an enjoyable film? 100%, 100%. I could watch that any day of the week and enjoy it, and I'm sure Eternals will be the same. It from the first trailer, it looked very sci-fi, and I like sci-fi,
oh
and it
yeah,
looks
no,
very hard sci-fi. So
it's 100% sci-fi
yeah,
with
so
superheroes.
that's my thing. Oh, so we got that, and then of course Disney related, not Marvel related. They released a Star Wars Visions trailer, which um gotta say, like, one of the things that we've already talked about. It's not that big of an exciting thing for me, but I think the trailer did you know make it a little more a little more interested. What did you think?
I am 100% invested in Star Wars Visions.
Okay, good.
Um, I think I was talking to you when I said it. It's come full circle because George Lucas was heavily influenced by like Kurosawa films, which were Japanese films, and the fact that Japanese artists and creators have the right to do the property however they want to see fit, with Lucasfilm not involved. They just had the lore that they could use, like lightsabers, Force, Sith, et cetera, but tell their own story. And I think that's perfect harmony. You know how I am a huge fan of
Perfect.
animation, and this
Oh
looks
yeah.
like an animation slugfest. There's one of the stories that looks like they're going to tell. It looks very samurai, and
Yeah, and
it's
that
black and
is
white etched ink painting kind of like sketched look, and I am all for it. I am all for it.
and one of the things that I found out is that particular episode is they've gotten all authentic Japanese cast to do the voices. So that's exciting. That's cool. Like they actually took the care
I
to do that.
think that
But
episode I might watch in subbed. Most of those are probably going to watch in dubbed because I'm a lazy American and I want to hear American voices, unfortunately. But
yeah,
there's a couple of them. There's a couple anime that I do watch, and they watch them in sub because I like that the voice is better. But I think that one I will watch in sub because I think that will make more sense to watch that in subbed.
and perhaps I'm probably gonna go all dub just because I like that better. But I do want to run down. They did announce some of the cast here for uh, Visions, and right off the rip, we got so here's the names of the episodes, real quick. That one I think is called the Duel. Maybe not. Maybe not.
Do
No,
you
no, no,
think the duel might be the one that's done by the
no,
same people who did Gurren Lagann and Kill la Kill?
no,
Because of the way that the image was pitched.
no.
No, or is it the old man one? The old man Sith looks amazing. That
Okay,
he
so
looks well
here we go.
animated.
Let's read the episodes names. So we have the Duel, we have Tatooine Rhapsody, we have the Twins, we have the Village Bride,
Tatooine Rhapsody.
the Ninth
Okay.
Jedi, T0-B1, which is probably a droid episode. The Elder, Lop and Ocho, and Akakiri. So I would assume. So here's some of the big names. I'm not going to read all of them, but we have Lucy Liu, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Timura Morrison is playing Boba Fett in reprising that role. We have Neil Patrick Harris. We have Allison Brie, who is Captain Marvel, so you know who that person is. We have, and that's a lot of Japanese names I don't recognize, but that's cool. David Harbour, who you might know Lucas as Hopper from Stranger Things, or Red Guardian,
Or Hellboy.
or Hellboy. Yeah, I always forget about that one. He did great in that. And we have Jamie Chung, who and George Takei. I know Jamie Chung, but I think I'm losing like what she's been in. She was on the Disney Channel, I think, for a while. But anyway, that's it. That's the big
Was
names that I
is
recognize.
Jamie Chung the one that plays Finnick in
Let's
Mandalorian?
see. Let's see.
No. right? I don't think so.
That's the Mulan woman you're talking about, right?
I don't know. Was she Mulan?
The voice of Mulan, the one that got turned into a cyborg,
Oh yeah.
and is like Boba Fett's like sidekick
Mm-hmm.
now. Yeah,
Yeah.
she was the voice of Mulan. She was also an Agents of
Oh,
Shield, connecting it back to Marvel.
interesting.
But yeah, I was anyway. Let's move on. That's the cast. You can look it up at your own leisure. Now before we really start talk about what if, I just want to. This is what I was doing at the end of the episode. You know what this is, Lucas? This episode, and I'm starting to realize what if is. You know, it is a
It's
bunch of
a
kids with the action figures. They have all the Marvel action figures, and they're putting them on a little map, on a little table, and they're just playing.
Yep.
And
I
that's
agree
all
with
this
that.
is. And it made me feel like a kid again. And it also is like this episode.
We said it
So
perfectly last episode or last stream. It's a Saturday morning cartoon that's coming out not on a Saturday.
now this episode was so much more. This episode was so much more than that, though, in my opinion. And I mean, it depends on where you're
the
at. With
weight
Saturday
the
morning
the
cartoon.
weight behind this episode, I think, is what made it more.
No,
Unfortunately,
no. When when we first got into this and it's about T'Challa, I'm like, okay, this can be a very T'Challa focused episode. It's going to be very Chadwick Boseman heavy. It's going to be no, it is, but we also get tons of other characters in this that all have time to shine, and we get it's like a celebration again in the same way the Endgame was of all 10 the last decade of Marvel movies. This is just another celebration. And granted, Captain Carter in the last one, it was fun, but it didn't give me it was very much a rehash of one movie. Didn't really pull a lot of elements from anything else. This episode pulls elements from throughout the Marvel movies and combines them together
yeah,
without getting bogged down by rehashing a story. It tells something
that's
completely
exactly what I
different.
was thinking the whole time watching it. Because the way you described how you thought Captain Carter was just a retelling of the first Avenger story, and I was like, this is a completely new story.
Hmm. And I also like, so the first episode we get the intro from a watcher, and he gives us the history rundown of like, here's the year, this is what happened. No, this episode starts with a fun scene and then backpedals into that, which I think helps the pacing out. Which actually I feel like this episode feels like it has a slower pacing than the last episode, which is a great thing because it showcases all the characters. It's not just trying to cover a
100%
lack of
agree.
plot with like
100% agree.
great action, and it's almost like all the problems they talked about with the last episode, this one fixed every one of them. The only problem I have is the only complaint that I have. Period. I guess there's two. Is like obviously Drax not voiced by Batista, which was again I don't understand. I think
Well,
he's got beef with Marvel.
yeah, Batista said he would only do anything if James Gunn was
James
attached to
Gunn,
it.
yeah,
Yeah,
which
is why
that's
he's the
weird
only reason
because
why he's
Sean
coming back
Gunn
for
was in it.
Guardians 3.
Sean Gunn was in this episode. I don't understand. I don't know. The drama behind the scenes. At the end of the day, there you have an opportunity to put aside your drama. You're getting paid a lot of money, regardless of how much, which level of millions of dollars you're getting paid, which level of 100,000, 10,000 you're getting paid. You're getting paid a lot of money to
Yeah,
essentially sit down in a booth and go like they doing exactly what we're doing with a little bit more effort, and it's not like they're giving you many lines. So that, and I thought Benicio del Toro, he did voice the Collector, but he sounded completely different. I didn't really like how he played the character. He just
I
sounded
like
so weird.
he sounded and looked more like what the comic book collector, and that's what I liked. I actually liked
Well,
that better than just like this
he
mysterious
sounded like the comic
figure.
book Collector.
Well,
You heard the
like,
comic. You can.
no, it's not. You get what I'm saying, right? He makes it seem more accurate because the collector from the comic book would actually use like things he found, and like he was very like cheesy in how he talked. I like that version of the collector better than the live action one that they depicted.
I'm talking about he doesn't sound like Benicio del Toro. He sounds very different, and he doesn't sound like he's really playing a character. So the collector in the movies, he has like this zany, again, not the same character, because this is the collector in this is like this powerful underworld intergalactic kingpin is what they call him. And the other one is just the zany recluse collector. Yeah, so they're both the collector, but they have different. So that collector would wear the white gloves and do like some Willy Wonka-esque,
Whereas this guy would put on a cord knuckler and beat you to death with it.
But he sounded more. This one sounded more flamboyant and less kingpin-y, whereas the other one sounded very stoic for the most of the time. So if you think he's more flamboyant in the comics, then I guess this version is better. But I think he just doesn't sound like Benicio del Toro to the point where I was scratching my head. I'm like, are they lying? Is that really him? But anyway, that's a small complaint. Small complaint. Everything else about this episode, Lucas, would you agree it's like number one so far of the what ifs?
I think it's tied. I think both of them are equal for me right now.
Oh,
I don't think it's number one.
Sir. No, sir. No way. No way is Captain Carter better than this.
I don't say it's better.
I know, but like
it's on the same bar for me. It's on the same bar. Because Captain Carter sets the tone of what I'm going to be experiencing, right? It sets the tone of the type of show I'm experiencing.
I think it has a completely different tone than that. This one, very different.
But it's also two different. It's also two different realities, and it's two different stories. So you can't really compare the two in general. It's like comparing.
And stop.
It's like comparing Captain America: First Avenger with Thor. Or it's like comparing Captain America: First Avenger with Iron Man, or it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like comparing, Guardians of the Galaxy and comparing it to Captain America: First Avenger.
Which episode did you have a better time watching? That's all it is.
I had my excitement level was equal on both.
Okay. I think that's, I mean, your opinion's your opinion. That's fair. But to me, this is number one for me. Like going forward, it'll be really hard. In the same way that I said last episode that Captain Carter, it would like the rest of the series would have to be awful for her not to stay in last place. And this one is the reverse, where the rest of them would have to be way better to knock this one out of first spot for me. So this was probably going to be my number one going forward. Now, granted, Doctor Strange, favorite character.
Isn't the Guardians part of Marvel something you really, really like in general? Anyways, isn't that part of your favorite part of the Marvel movies is like the Guardians inspired stuff?
Well, yeah, but at the same time, this is very. I mean, it's a hard question to answer because, like, I like Doctor Strange the best. Very different from Guardians. I like Thor Ragnarok is probably my favorite non-Avenger movie. Not the Guardians, still space. But I also
same tone.
Right, and I love Spider-Man as a character so much, but the two movies that he's got are not like in my top 5 of the Marvel movies. So it's hard to like my Marvel fandom is all over the place. But what this one does, okay, so right off the rip, like I said, I'm thinking it's going to be a very T'Challa focused episode, which would like feel in a sense at some point like a Paul Walker situation in Fast and Furious, where it's kind of detract from the story. No, they didn't really. This wasn't necessarily trying to be a send off to Chadwick Boseman. It just ends up working that way without them having to do anything different.
I feel like the title of these episodes have been perfect for what the episodes have showcased. So the title of the last one was like, "What if Peggy Carter was Captain America?" Right?
Mhm.
Okay. And what would happen if
Captain
Peggy
Carter,
Carter?
yeah.
Yeah. So we get the whole episode is a perfect example of what would happen if she was Captain Carter or got the super soldier serum, right? Now
Mhm.
this one says, "What if T'Challa was Star-Lord?" So think about the person that T'Challa was in the MCU, and he's
Humble,
essentially the same person, exactly. And what if you
humility.
put him into a place where he could put
Mm.
that experience and his charisma and his like personality out further than just Wakanda.
Yeah, and it's the exact reversal of Peter Quill because Peter Quill's this insecure,
Little
lonely
turd butt.
guy. No, he's not. He's an insecure person who has dealt with trauma. He never knew his father. The last thing he knew on Earth was that his mother died, and then he became into this abusive father relationship, and so he developed all these traumatic hangups where he requires validation, and so right from the first line you get I'm Star Lord, and Korath is like, who's Star Lord, and he's upset because he's not famous. Whereas T'Challa, completely humble, he left a good family life. He had everything going for him. He didn't have that kind of trauma when he left. He had curiosity, the explorer's curiosity that was satiated, and immediately humbled by his place in the universe. With also the lie that we'll get to, where Yondu said that you know Wakanda was destroyed. So taking that in later on was able to use that as a anchor for like I need to stay humble. I don't need to be like you know trying to do things that so and you get this humility where I'm going to help people out, whereas Peter's like I'm going to help myself until he finds a family. Um, T'Challa's already knows what it's like to have a family, and he brings that to the Ravagers, who then of course go the Robin Hood route, which is great.
I love the Robin Hood route. I really do because it to me the Ravengers should be doing that, not just be like mercenaries or like people. Because at the end of Guardians 2, when they show Sylvester Stallone and the other Ravengers, right? They talk about how Yondu and them used to stand for something, like how the Ravengers used to stand for something, but because Yondu took the task of picking up Ego's son, they
Well,
got
before Ego's son, he was his sons. Peter wasn't his first picker
yeah.
up. He
Well, oh
just
yeah,
he
true,
just
yeah,
found out at when he picked Peter up that the kids were being disposed of,
yeah.
and so he turned away from that. But he didn't know. So he really wasn't his. Like he was never nefarious. He was a victim of circumstance.
Yeah,
Whereas
but no, he went against the code, which was what trafficking people, right, or something
yeah,
along the
but
lines
he
of that.
but to him he thought he was returning children to a father, which any rational person would be like, oh,
Well,
these
yeah,
kids have been. If someone comes over, they're like, hey, my kids were human trafficked from me and taken onto these other worlds, and I'll pay you to go rescue them for me. My kids, I need my kids back. Yeah, your first reaction is like, oh yeah,
well,
let me help this
the
guy's kids have been kidnapped.
the point of my thought was though, so like how Sylvester Stallone's character never like said the Ravager stood for something, and you went against the code, right?
Yeah.
That
Anyway.
we used to be good. We were like we did bad for good or whatever. Like
Mhm.
that's the thing that I like that they made
Yes,
they were was because the Robin
that
Hood
stayed.
scenario, and that stayed
Yeah.
with them, and they never
Hmm.
even though like I wonder if in this story was Peter the first child that Ego or the first child that Yondu tried to pick up, or did he go
Uh
back into the fold and like
no,
T'Challa was what changed his mind?
I would imagine because Ego went individually. He didn't go at the same time to these planets. He went, had a relationship, had a
Yeah.
relationship, had a relationship. So unless someone else was hired before Yondu, it stands to reason that still Peter would be not the first child that was taken.
Yeah, no, I mean,
So
it just makes you wonder because like it definitely harkens to the whole scenario what I was talking about, like the Ravengers.
No,
or
I know,
Robin Hood as
we're getting
people,
like
so.
way, because like that could
Well, that's
potentially be a plot hole, but it's like
it's
the episode makes it so it doesn't really matter.
that's the thing though. Like you said, like it did such a good job at showcasing other characters and like other character stories. So like that made me start wondering at the end of watching it, because I was like, you know, T'Challa's story is awesome, but like think of all the things that were going on around him.
Mm-hmm. Okay, things are so going back, so not a recap, but like just to where my excitement level is at. When we see T'Challa picked up, I was like, okay, we're gonna get another, rehash of Guardians of the Galaxy, this time with T'Challa. No, we only get that at the beginning when he's going to get the Power Stone and Korath. But it's funny; it's very different. And Korath is like, "Hey, it's Star-Lord. I know who this is." And he's like, "I'm not comfortable being called Star-Lord." He's like, Do we bow?" He's like, "No, I'm not. You don't need to bow." He's like, "Well, can we fight?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." And they have this spar match, and right from that point, I'm like, "Okay, this is going to be something special." And then Yondu shows up. So first off, love Yondu in the movies. One of my favorite characters in the whole franchise. He's back. Michael Rooker, we get to see him again.
And very Yondu, and still Yondu.
Yeah, still like good Yondu though, not like ambiguously possibly evil Yondu from the first Guardians. Like no, this is
grumpy
Daddy
Yondu.
This is Daddy Yondu.
I call him grumpy old man Yondu.
Yeah,
he's just a grumpy old man trying to make some money.
Also, and shout out to Sean Gunn, who's back, as well as Kraglin, with the line. He's got, this is something that didn't make sense to me either, where he looks like a human, right? They both look, him and Taserface both look humanoid. But they picked Challa up, mistaking him for Peter Quill, when clearly the picture's different, and they can't tell the difference, they say, because he's got see holes, hear holes, and eat holes. And I'm like,
I mean, they're both.
You have the same thing, Kraglin. How do you tell yourself different than a human? I don't understand. So
I think Kraglin's just not the smartest. I know, but you know they're space hillbillies basically. So
yes, and that was played as a gag. It doesn't make sense, but it's still funny. So moving on, I like Sean Gunn. His character Kraglin is the funniest character he's played, where he's actually himself. Usually he is standing in for a CGI character like Rocket or
Weasel.
Weasel. Weasel's funnier, but it's it's more of like that's from James Gunn's Suicide Squad. If you're like, where are these guys going with it? So from there, we get Korath. I'm liking Korath. Korath actually joins the team. I'm loving this so far. They describe their whole we're Robin Hoods and whatever, and it's because of Challa. But then it doesn't stop there. They go to this bar where it's all of them hanging out, and they start talking about Thanos. How did you stop Korath? How did you stop Thanos?
Well, no, he starts by talking about different instances that's happened in the MCU or like the Marvel universe, and then finally he stops on like, how did you stop Thanos? And I was like, wait a second, what? Wait a second.
He's like, because
I saw Josh Brolin.
Thanos.
It's because I saw Josh Brolin in the title, when they're showing all the voice actors for the episode, and I was like, wait, Josh Brolin. Okay, I wonder where this is going.
It's Cable. No, I'm just kidding. But like he says, like, how did you stop Thanos? And Thanos is just there, part of the team,
the Ravengers.
And he's the Robin Hood, the Challa Ravenger, and he's got this grin on his face, like, "What's up, guys?" And he's just like, "Yeah, it turns out I'm a big enough man to admit when I was wrong. T'Challa showed me a better way," and I was just like, "That I like this a lot," but that is like putting.
It's pushing it.
That's like Challa did all of this. Okay. We're in the what if universe where literally anything is possible.
I don't want to say. I don't know how to express my feelings for that, because I just feel like they did a lot of good for T'Challa as a character. But there was a lot of hype with the Black Panther movie. Granted, like you remember how much hype there was for that movie, how much that movie raked in, and like how much like was backing behind that movie. Stayed in theaters for so long.
That was
Remember
right
that?
before Infinity War, and I remember it came out in February or January,
Yeah,
and Infinity War came out in May, and you could watch Black Panther on the same day that Infinity War came out on theaters, and some theaters were even playing like watch Black Panther before Infinity War.
I know that's
So,
such a crazy lifeline for that movie. So
also, yeah.
I feel like the build up and like the good feelings you have from this show was because of how
Yeah.
much Marvel banked on that property.
Yeah, and you said feel good. That's what if I'm learning is. What if is thus far it is a feel good experience. Yet, you know, Captain Carter, you need stakes to have like great character growth and emotional moments. Captain Carter, like we discussed last episode. She there's no stakes there. Except when maybe possibly Steve dies, but we don't care enough about Steve at that point. This episode again, not a lot of stakes. There is so we talk about we get Nebula too, who walks up and she's kind of has this romantic fling with Chala, which I love. She even calls him Cha Cha, and we get uh she's not a cyborg. She's got her hair, and she's like this pretty. She kind of looks like one of those old school jazz singers that has the big flat like the great dress on as they're singing in front of a microphone in like a jazz club. And I really liked seeing her as well. So it's like a lot of fan service, but like that makes sense for the story. Of course, we get Drax as well, who's at the bar serving drinks, and I guess Lucas is going to be gone for a bit, so I'll keep going down. Later on, one of the things I was talking about with stakes is Nebula. There's kind of this double cross that goes on, and so that was like where this episode actually got stakes, and I was because like there was enough time, the pacing was slow enough that I actually cared about the characters, and so when Nebula double crossed Chala, it actually felt bad. I actually felt bad about it. Lucas is back, and so because they took time, they slowed it down enough for us to care about the characters. When Nebula double crosses them, I was upset. Like I actually had an emotional reaction to that,
I
and
was like, oh
because I
man,
was like,
typical
no,
Nebula.
I want everybody to be good.
I know, but it was typical Nebula. So
Yes, yes.
I kind of expected something fishy from somebody. I kind of expected it from Thanos. I thought maybe like, all of a sudden
It
Thanos would
was
be like, haha, I was the villain all along. Curly, non-existent mustache. But no, it was Nebula. I was like, oh, great. Same character. And then
but no. But like you say, typical Nebula. None of these other characters have been typical. None of them, except maybe T'Challa, but in this role, um, and Yondu. But none of these characters have been typical. To see her do that, it was like, oh well, dramatic tension and stakes. So that was good. It uplifted the episode a little bit higher than Nebula. Plus, with all the cameos, with all the Easter eggs, with all the um characters, fan service. And speaking of Easter eggs, so if we didn't talk about it before, they're trying to steal the
Astro.
seed. Astro, Cosmo, you mean?
Cosmo. There we go. My bad. Brain fart.
Astro Boy.
But
I didn't see
Cosmo.
Astro Boy.
Cosmo.
But before it, so they're going to steal the Ember embers from. I don't know what they are. Jake says they're big in the comics, I think. But from the Collector, who is the kingpin of the Galactic Underworld, and he's got this like big heavy coat on with like fur, and he kind of looks like
Man's
a
got
Stark from
swag
Game
on
of Thrones.
Max. Man's got
Yeah,
swag on Max.
yeah, and so when they go to do that heist, of course, Charlie gets kidnapped because Nebula double crosses him, and we also the funny line. Nebula is still salty about being abducted by Thanos, so they have this. Thanos feels bad, and Nebula's like, "I don't forgive you, I don't trust you," and Chala's like, "I'm trying to get them into therapy," which was really funny. like space therapy. You can only imagine what kind of. Anyway, like,
gosh, Dad, I don't want to go to my room.
yeah. But when T'Challa and the Collector have their little fight scene, we get a Korg hand, and let me tell you, the Collector needs to get fingered in the eye hole right here because he killed Korg. He killed
a species of Korg.
No, he said I killed a particularly chatty species of Korg, which of course it's Korg. He killed Korg, Lucas.
I know. I was just trying to.
He killed Korg. They didn't play coy about it. They were pretty like, yeah. So killed my favorite little New Zealand space rock.
And he's some of the dagger. I don't know. Remember what the dagger was actually? A dark elf dagger. Mm-hmm. So they name dropped Thor. So a lot of the stuff he used was from Thor. If you think about it, because he also has the Hellas helmet. Yeah. So we have Thor,
which actually makes sense because he's the brother of the Grandmaster.
Grandmaster.
So they would probably be like, "Hey, brother, like, what's going on?" Like, it would be great if we got Grandmaster.
Hey, so I just got this Valkyrie, in my one of my people, and she has a really, she really hates Asgard. So let me just help you here real quick, and let me give you all Asgard's crap, basically. Yes. Also, I have this I have this Korg species.
You'd be like, "Hey, brother, I got this this helmet from Hela. She was trying to take over Asgard, and she was."
You want it? I think you do. I don't like it.
Great.
It spooks me.
Freaking Jeff Goldblum.
This Korg's his name. He won't shut up. I need you to do something about it. This rock guy. I'm done. He started a rebellion. He
made a rock. He keeps telling a rock paper scissors joke. I can't take it anymore.
I just need him.
You're gonna have him. You want him? You can have his arm. Okay.
Have the whole thing.
The rest of the episode is just gonna be Jeff Goldblum. But then so I'm at this point, I'm like, so we get the Hella stuff and we get the fighting and everything, and he's talking like, he even asked T'Challa, he's like, you don't have any superpowers, you can't shoot lasers through your eyes or fly, and he's like, no, I'm just a regular human. So he doesn't even have the Black Panther serum, obviously. So it just goes to show it's all about like the person you are.
But he's got the Panther moves still.
And the necklace.
Yeah. Well, the necklace doesn't do anything except like lets him use Wakandan technology, basically.
Yeah, it's part of who you is. Anyway, we found out earlier that Yondu lied to Challa about Wakanda being destroyed, which is very in character for the Yondu we know from the movies, where he wanted a son and did what he felt was best for Challa, which the episode does. The writers do basically tell us, yes, he made the right decision because this T'Challa is an explorer, and Yondu gave that to him. So, when Chala's trying to escape, like I said, we've had all these cameos, we've had all these fan service of characters, but they gave us more, folks. Howard the Duck is sitting in the freaking thing drinking a martini.
I freaking saw him sitting next to Carla. And I went from like sitting normal, and I'm sick, mind you. I was sick for the last couple of days with a head cold. So like I get up from out of my days, and I was just like, now I'm invested.
Oh, that was the part that made you invest. No, I
didn't expect them to have so many lines, and it made me so happy.
When you're down on your luck, always go duck. But not only that, but like when Challa broke the glass
with the vibranium,
you hear quack. You hear a lot of quack. You hear quack. Oh my god! And you hear that? And
Affleck.
He doesn't sound like Daffy Duck, but he does a lisp a couple times at the end of a sentence when he's talking. And again, it's just like,
yeah, but so and most people's, I guess, knowledge of Howard the Duck comes from the movie, right? That came out in like what, the 80s, 70s, 80s, whatever year that movie came out.
I didn't see it,
And
so
and the way Howard sounds in there doesn't it doesn't tickle my fancy. But the way Seth Green voices Howard in this episode, it it makes me think of what Howard would sound like and how he would act. And it really, sorry, it really got me. Like, I don't know why. I was like, I really want more of Seth Green's Howard the Duck. I've been wanting more since the Guardians,
end
like,
credit scene.
end credit
That was the
scene.
end credit scene.
Hey, like, he's just sitting there at the end of it. Hey, and I was like, are we gonna get a show? And now we got him in What If. I'm like, can I get a show? I'll take an animated Howard the Duck show. Seth Green all day, please.
He when he first voiced him, like the first time you hear him talk, and he sounds less like it in this episode, but he reminds me of a like a gangster from the '60s in New York, and I don't know if he's
I can
lost
see
that in
that.
this episode, but like there's a couple, and he even has a Tommy gun in Avengers Endgame. If you're really paying attention and looking for it, he's got a Tommy gun. So when they're all fighting, which is like, how did Howard the Duck get there? It makes no sense, but I guess it does. Who cares? Um, so and again, like from there we get a couple great more battles. It turns out that Nebula was not double crossing. She
Double
was like
crossing, double
triple
crossed.
crossing. Yeah. So she was a good guy, and this episode has a great conclusion where everybody is a good guy. We get the dark, what are they called? The four: Ebony Maw, Proxima Midnight,
Oh, the
Cold
Dark Order.
Obsidian. Yeah. And I don't know the third one, the skinny one with the spear.
Uh,
Doesn't matter. But anyway, I loved seeing Ebony Maw again. They
man.
literally replicated his same hand movements. Like there was someone did like a on-screen comparison between Infinity War and this episode with Ebony Maw's movements and what he was doing, and it was all the same. I felt like he was such a powerful character that was underutilized, and I don't really care about the other members of the Dark Order, but I really liked him because he's just cool,
You
and
mean
he's
you mean
got this.
superpower Squidward?
Yes, but he like he has this regal stance, and of course the Squidward is the joke that they
Yeah,
make.
but he's the one that gets punked out of any of the Black
And
Order.
he gets launched into space when he's not in space, or like in danger of getting thrown into space. Like that was the only way they could defeat him, which you might say is punked because yes, it was kind of made as a gag, but
I mean, he
they
was
could not
legit
stand a
overpowered.
chance on Earth. They couldn't stand a chance. Like
He
he
was
came
legit
up
overpowered.
and he just took the Avengers to town, and he of course had the element of surprise, but still he just took them to town.
That's the
And
thing I didn't like about the Black. Okay, so
the Dark Order.
there's certain things, people or characters in Marvel that they dumb down a lot, right? But they didn't dumb down, Thanos or the Black Order. Like they were broke for the sake of being broke, but they only lost because of the plot. It's like you're watching anime, right? And you have these really strong characters, but they're literally the characters that, like, unless the plot didn't exist, they could end the show in one punch,
Hmm.
right? So that's what they did in those movies. But like, say Hulk, they dumbed down 100 times over for these movies in this MCU. Whereas like Hulk could go one on one with like Thanos at this, like you know what I'm saying? Like he's and then Thor, like all these characters could easily have done something to these characters later on, like
I think
down the
Marvel.
road.
I know that irks you, but I think overall, I think Marvel has done mostly a good job at bringing everybody's strength levels to a point where the drama can happen and we can still get great moments, and to where we understand who is more powerful than who. Um, the Hulk, I don't think was dumbed down as much as you think. It's just when he's fighting Thanos, I think based on where we'd seen what he's capable of up to that point, I think him getting his butt whooped by Thanos was a good indication of where Thanos' strength was. So again, everything worked to an extent, but like Thor in the Ultimates, way more powerful than even Infinity War Thor at the end, where they kind of matched him a little bit, but there's a moment in the comics
I
that I
mean,
love where am I getting too long winded? Go ahead.
no, you're fine. No, but like what I'm saying is like, so in game Thanos, who is younger, was given the hands out to
In the hands.
given the hands out to Iron Man in a nano suit, basically God Thunder Thor with the Stormbringer, and Captain America with Mjolnir. So he was working them, and that was younger Thanos. Whereas older Thanos, who was more wizened, had the Infinity Stones,
Hmm.
like was just like snap done. So like what I'm saying, like power levels are all over the place in the MCU, and it doesn't seem like they know exactly where they want to be at with power levels.
I
To
think
me,
I think I think they bring them to levels that allow them to create good drama between the characters. But yes, I think there are some inconsistencies like Iron Man. There are times when it's like early on where he's like, I gotta recharge the suit or I blah blah blah, power this, power that, and then later on it's like unlimited. Like there he does the hand beam in Iron Man 2, and he's like, I can only use that once. And then for a couple movies, he continues to use it only once during that fight scene. But then later on, like when we see him fight Thanos, and again, it shows growth and development because he's always trying to make stuff better. We see him use it several times. So there comes a point in time where it's like I think the drama is good enough that you don't have to get bogged down by these like power level differences. Um, because like Kevin Feige had stated when Captain Marvel was coming out that she is the most powerful character we've shown you, and then after that, he retracted that and said Wanda was the most powerful character. So I don't think it
and
really matters in the end.
I can
It
agree that Wanda
right.
Maximoff is the most
So
powerful character in the MCU right now.
so
100%.
well, yeah. So agree. No argument there. But it just comes to show you that, or goes to show you that it's like they do what they need to do for the sake of telling a good story. So I think having, in the sense that Infinity War, Ebony Maw, very overpowered. Here, he's not very overpowered. They kind of easily get rid of him. But they're also fighting Thanos this time. There's a bit difference there, and I like how they called him Captain Genocide a lot. Because he's like, call me
I did.
Captain Genocide again.
I know, it kind
Because
of
he's
like it's the Hulk smash. It's like you say
yeah.
something stupid and Hulk goes to smash
Mhm.
down.
But he's like he has agreed that he made a mistake, but he's like, it's still cool. It's still a good idea when you think about it. Though. They're like, no, it's not. He's like, yes, it is. I'm not going to do it, but don't tell me I'm an idiot for thinking about it, or I'm gonna get salty, which I
Yeah,
thought was endearing.
like the little
Yeah,
scene at the end, like just I know we're jumping ahead a little quick, but like the
we were
scene
almost
towards it,
there, anyways. Yeah.
yeah. So like the little scene at the end where that's like Wakanda, like the Ravengers and the Wakandians all get together, and you have Thanos talking about the talking with the
Or Melage.
The Dora Milaje. She's like, that what you're talking about is genocide. He's like, is it really though? And she's like, yes, it is.
More efficient. You can't, but
And he's cuddling up Cosmo.
yeah, and Cosmo was in the collector's room, and they let him escape, which they actually let everybody escape at the end, kind of in the same way that, um, at the end of Thor Ragnarok, they overthrew. According to Jake, though, um, both the collector and the Grandmaster could easily dispatch with like an army of people. So to him, he
Yeah, they're
probably
like
would watch this.
celestial level beings. So
Yeah, so with T'Challa leaving him for everybody, it's if I guess Jake would be unclear whether he had the upper hand or not. But no, I think this episode, Collector was screwed. I think he got his. I think he got paid to business by his prisoners that were just released.
his come up.
But anyway, the other stakes that were set up was when T'Challa found out that Yondu lied to him about Wakanda. He's like, "You are not my family. You never were." And there's this emotional. We've had just enough time with just enough slow paced character growth where that hurts. Where you're like, no, I want them to be family. No, no. But at the end, we get Yondu and Chala teaming up to take down the Collector, and then ultimately escape. They go back to Wakanda to have that Chala have the moment of seeing his father and mother, who are still alive in this universe, and have this like moment where he decides he is the explorer. He is Star Lord. That's who he is. And credits. And it's just such a like the music too. When we go to Wakanda, when we go to space.
Before we get credits, we get something out that could cause huge ramifications within the universe.
I forget.
Ego gets Peter Quill.
Oh yeah. I forgot. He goes to like a fast food, like
a Dairy Queen. It was like a Dairy Queen, wasn't it?
Which is funny because a Dairy Queen got they drove past. A lot of that's referencing the second Guardians movie when they were in Missouri and they go past the Dairy Queen, and later on the Dairy Queen gets exploded by the seeds that Ego was planting. But yeah, that we'll probably, and the watchers like that is a story for another day. So we might actually see that in season 2, because I don't think that's going to be dealt with.
That, or I mean, there's the image that I spoke about last time of Gamora and the Thanos armor
right above your head.
Mm-hmm. So maybe that's part
that doesn't
of that.
mean no, because I think that's going to be its own separate universe.
You think it's going to be its own separate universe?
Yes, absolutely.
But doesn't the scene and the trailer that we've seen where it's all the Guardians doing the Avengers turnaround, doesn't the Star-Lord have purple eyes instead of red eyes?
I mean, if you're really paying attention to those details, sure, but I didn't see that. I wasn't paying attention to those details. I want to be surprised. I don't want to dig. After this episode, with all the surprise, never did I think we were going to get good guy Thanos. What? That was probably my favorite part. Or Nebula without Cyborg. Or Howard I mean, we knew we were going to get Howard the Duck, but I didn't think he was coming in this episode. So,
or Nebula with hair.
I just said that.
You said cyborg parts.
Well, okay, yeah.
She had hair.
Okay, yes, ladies, and she had. You know what, Rick?
She looked like an MCU character Barbie doll. Is what she looked like.
No, I guess you didn't hear me when you were bounced out. I was saying she looked like to me a jazz singer from like old noir movies where she's just in the club with.
Oh, true. Or what was the show? Jim, that like pop star show that was animated in like the 80s or 70s. They made that terrible movie off of it. Jim. I don't know. Go look it up. Anyways.
Okay. Anyway, so we get the animation. So one thing this episode had, I love sci-fi. The environments, like the bar scene. Holy crap! That's like sci-fi wonderment, amazement.
I love seeing nowhere again. I like seeing that, and then like when the seeds bust open and how like there's plant life growing on top of nowhere now.
All the canisters, the prison cells flying around.
Really
this
cool
one, the environmental animation was the standout. Absolutely, the art design. Oh, the characters' designs, like we talked about with Nebula with her hair. We talked about the Collector.
They stayed very true to the cosmic, like Marvel MCU. Let's like the designs of everybody. I liked how they changed T'Challa's outfit from Peter Quill's, but still kept things to make it show you that it's Star-Lord, like he is Star-Lord, like using the purple instead of the red hues, a longer coat instead of like a short biker jacket. He has like a more longer coat that you would see him wear as like when he was going around as T'Challa, like King T'Challa. So it was, I liked how they still kept that like fact that he is Wakandan, but he's still very close to Star-Lord. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Like, is this episode to me is like it can't get much better than this as far as animation goes. Granted, the action in the first one, because there wasn't much going on in the background and there was a limited amount of characters. The action was good. So I think you were able to like really kind of sit with the action a little more in the first episode than this one. This one it was so quick and done with that it was like, okay, cool. But we were focused on everything else going on. So it wasn't as front and center.
Remember how we talked about how we said Howard Stark had the best like facial features and like the way everything was? I think they implemented more on the dialogue giving and facial features and emotions of the characters than they did the action and choreographed fights in this one. Because if you take a look at the fights that all Captain Carter did last time, really great. I don't think I had a flaw in the fight scene at all, really. Whereas the ones they take the Thanos fight versus the two Black Order members, it felt a little clunky. Not like clunky,
and
but
I
like
think, go ahead.
It didn't feel
Not
like bad clunky, but like it just felt clunky. It didn't feel fluid as watching Captain Carter tear apart a tank and a bunch of Nazis.
Right.
And then the Collector's fight versus T'Challa. Granted, he was doing a bunch of like using a bunch of weapons and stuff. It just didn't feel like his body didn't look animate correctly for me with the type of fight, like during doing the fights and everything. So I think they paid more attention to, like you said, the environments. The environments look top notch, like the backdrop of everything. And I think like the facial features and the conveying of emotions and making characters that look very accurate to actual actors as well. Whereas before they only had like what, two, three named actors that they had to make sure the faces and everything looked like Peggy Carter's character, Steve and
there was
Howard
an uncanny valley going on with Steve and Peggy last episode.
Exactly. Whereas and then Red Skull, they didn't have to really animate that well. They didn't have to put much thought into it because it was just a man in a mask to begin with in the movie. Whereas this one, you had Chadwick Boseman, you had Yondu, you had Josh Brolin as Thanos, who Thanos looks like Josh Brolin.
Thanos looked probably the best.
Looked amazing. You had Nebula.
I did want to touch that with the fight scenes you're talking about. A lot of them were probably bogged down with the idea that they wanted to like replicate the Infinity War fights because there's several moments in the Cole Obsidian versus Thanos fight that is very one-to-one with him fighting Hulkbuster. So they were on Instagram, someone posted like frame to frame,
interesting. I didn't notice that.
So they were probably just trying to replicate them frame for frame. And so that probably limited what they were able to do. They weren't being like super creative with the animation to do something new with the fight scenes and the choreography. They were very like, let's do the same thing we've done, just in a different way. And even when Thanos screams like, it is very reminiscent of when he gets stabbed in on Titan, where he's like like that. And or not on Titan, in Wakanda. But it's like they're trying to replicate it 100% from those movies, which they did a good job of, but it also limited what they were able to do creatively and hurt the action.
I would have definitely liked to see Thanos doing some like interesting stuff, especially since he doesn't. Because he was fighting hand to hand, right? So I would have liked to see stuff not using the gauntlet, which he doesn't have the gauntlet, or having a weapon, which he has a weapon in game. So I wanted him to get brawly or something, not like I'm trying to think of like a good interpretation, but like there's these like a big when you're playing a video game and you're going against a just a stereotypical big bruiser style character and the movements that they
A
do,
brute. Yeah.
a brute. That's what Thanos was doing. It wasn't anything like new to me. So it was just stereotypical animation to me. And then the fight with T'Challa and the Collector. Granted, some of it was cool because they used the Hela helmet, which allowed them to do like
And
cool,
they
fun
did the
necro sword
same
stuff.
the same movement that Hela does to summon her.
Mhm.
So like I said, it's a lot of none of it
Copy
was like
pasting.
super. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what Thanos. It was just copy and paste with Nebula with all these different fight scenes. It's just copy and paste, which is fine because that's the intention they were trying to convey. Like, hey, this is the same stuff going on in a different way in a different universe, but
And
it's
then
less interesting than say Captain Carter, fighting with the Howling Commandos in a castle where they're zooming out one character, like we did that whole camera spin around scene. Nothing really happened like that.
But I will say one of my nitpicky animation scenes as well is the Yondu arrow scene. So it was good. It was good. But you know how in the actual movies, when the arrow goes through somebody, it makes like a little
Much
red.
faster.
It makes like a little like not just the red trail behind it. It has like a little red splurt from the person. It wasn't really blood, but it was like it showed them going through it. Whereas like in this
plasma.
one, yeah, it was something that shows the hole and then like something damage. Whereas in the animation there was no damage. It was just straight through the person. There was no damage involved. And I was like, I understand you didn't have to do it, but you could have gave me that type of
A
scenario.
little bit more care given to that would have.
That looked like something from like a PlayStation 1 or 2
Mhm.
era game that was rated teen, and there wasn't no like battle
Rated
damage
T,
involved.
yeah. Or like
You gave me damage, but you gave me a kill, but you didn't give me the damage from it. Like
yes.
there was no payoff.
So you're saying if like when the arrow went through people, like little numbers came up to indicate the damage, that would have been better, Lucas. No, I'm just playing. They always made it. They're like, let's make it really violent and have the numbers be like blood colored,
Yeah.
so it feels like damage. It was like whatever. I remember back in the day playing this video game. No, this episode, okay, so summing up, voice acting, we already talked about
Great.
Benicio del Toro,
Great.
but I didn't like Benicio. Like I've when
He
he's
was on the
Benicio
lesser
del
scale
Toro,
for me, but like I get you.
well, I'm used to Benicio del Toro from like Sicario, and I mean, uh, other roles where he's done where he's just this like menacing, scary person,
Was he
and he
was he the
wasn't.
character in Dead Man Tell No Tales for Pirates?
No, that's Javier Bardem. Very
Okay.
different person.
Say
Um,
I
Javier
can't remember.
Bardem has a thick, I guess, Mexican accent, whereas Benicio del Toro has a very subtle one. And I don't know if Benicio's Mexican. I think he's different, but it doesn't matter. He's got a very subtle accent, and um, he reminds me of like I always call him like Hispanic Brad Pitt because he kind of looks like the
That
same. He's
is
got the same
accurate.
facial structure. But he's a scary like when he's acting, he can be a really scary person. Whereas the collector and this was just a fun, I want to collect it. Yay. He
Super villain.
wasn't
He
very,
was a very comic book super villain.
yeah, like a Joel Schumacher, you know, campy villain, which I didn't have a problem with. It's just I didn't like it as much as I would have liked Benicio being more in line with his other roles. But it just shows he has a little bit of range. It's just like I don't know where he got the idea to play the collector like this. If it was directed to him, or if it was his own thing, I don't know. It doesn't really matter.
I mean, like I said, it harkens back to how we talked about it. It feels very Saturday morning cartoon. Like that felt
And
like a very Saturday morning cartoon part of the episode.
sure, and then Drax obviously sucked because it's not Batista. I mean, they did their best, but he wasn't in it a lot, so there's that. But and for a while, like Chadwick Boseman felt to me like is that Chadwick Boseman? But then after a while, I was like, yeah, that's definitely him. I love that they got the actor who played his dad to voice his dad, and he did a knockout job. Yondu did a knockout job with his acting. It was nice to hear Nebula's like non-android voice, or not android, cyborg voice.
Her auto-tune voice.
Dude, like this kind of like deeper um Nebula voice. But yeah, it was and then Korath stand out, did an excellent job. Seth Green did an excellent job with Howard, of course. So it's just like eating candy. It was like this episode was like when you have like a bag of candy, like M&M, not M&M's, like Skittles, and you like a particular type of Skittle, and you go and reach in, and it's like you keep getting the same Skittle that you like. You keep getting that one that you like. That's what
That's
this episode was
hilarious.
for me.
That's so good. That's a good
Um,
analogy.
and so I ate this up quite a bit. So yeah, yeah. Animation, definitely, I enjoyed the animation in this one better. As far as the fight scenes go, I think objectively the first episode is better, but there's so much going on in the background or with the character costumes, as we talked about, that this is a better experience for me by far than Captain Carter was.
100% agree. I don't know. I don't really got much more to say because, like, I think it's flawless. I think both. Oh, not flawless. Like I said, I have some like little nitpicks with the animation, but it is the style of animation, and
Well, you
it's
gave
a show, and it's also on Disney Plus. And I'm sure they're also thinking, like Disney's thinking, or like Marvel's thinking, is it's a cartoon, right? So they're probably thinking that parents might let their kids watch it because it is a cartoon, so they have to take liberties when it comes to like violence, and it has like certain aspects of what they're going to be doing. Like, although I thought it was pretty ridiculous when they completely crushed Red Skull in the first episode. I was like,
well,
oh
if you remember,
man,
Peggy Carter kicks the guy in the calf and breaks his knee, and he's like, "Oh," like that, and I'm like, yeah, that's violent enough. If you don't want it, that's pretty jarring for a child to see. So
yeah, but I'm
I don't
sure
think
that
I don't
like
think they're letting it like nerf them too much. I think it's still PG
no, I'm sure
level
it's taken some
violence.
animation liberties because I'm sure they're thinking that in line as well. Because I would say this is a. Would you say this is a PG-13 rated show or a PG?
PG
PG-13?
13.
I would say
They made
PG-13
a
as well.
they made a dick joke in this with the collectors compensating for something.
Yeah, I would
So
say I would say PG-13.
yep.
Like ratings nowadays are a lot more easy to like slide down, about what they are. Whereas back in like what I'll go back to the 80s again because Beetlejuice is rated PG, but that movie definitely should not have been rated PG.
I remember like between 2009 and like 2016, where every non-Disney PG-13 movie that came out would have one F bomb.
Mm-hmm.
One,
I
and
remember
then
that
after a
too.
while, they stopped doing that, and I'm like, what happened to that? And then every once in a while, you'll see a PG-13 movie, like Alita was the last one I saw, Alita Battle Angel, where she's like she says one F bomb, and it's just like one of those. I remember watching Hancock with my dad, and he's like, "This is a PG-13 movie," and he looked at me, and he's like, when he said the F bomb, my dad looked at me like, "Did you lie to me about what this movie was rated?" I'm like, "No, no, I didn't. I didn't.
That's
I didn't
that's
do
a
that."
whole thing. That was a whole thing when I was growing up. That was a whole thing because there
Uh,
was like PG-13 movies I was watching. Like think perfect example when it
it was
stands
like
out to me
probably.
because I watched it so much was Adam Sandler's The Longest Yard, right?
Mhm.
So you have the
That has an
scene,
F bomb too. Yeah.
yeah. So you like of course he's cursing and being vulgar, and then you have the scene where like he gets knocked out and Chris Rock just stands over him and you just get knocked out, and I'm like,
and it would make the movie so much better because they would have to really like focus on when to use that for the most impact, and I thought that would
yeah.
give them a lot of you know creative loopholes to jump through. Anyway, what was the next topic? Oh, hey.
Had a little visitor. She's still here. But yeah, there's not much more to say about the show that I can think of. I mean, great
No.
animation, great dialogue, great voice
You
acting.
gave the last episode a 7 out of 10. for the Marvel scale? Where is this one to you?
9 or
Okay,
8.
so you do think this one is better than Captain Carter?
I think it's better as like an overall
Yeah,
experience,
exactly.
but at the
That's what
same
I was trying to
time,
say.
I have the same feeling watching both.
Don't change anything about this other than like the business side where it comes to I wanted Batista to play Drax, but that's not the creator's fault, and so I'm not going to take a point off. This is to me one of the greatest 30 minutes of Marvel I've ever gotten, in my opinion.
And
I
for
was
me, I
literally
agree. Yeah.
clapping at
And I
the end.
agree for
I
me
would
as
not
well. I
change
just have
one bit of this at all. It was also surprising because after Peggy Carter, I didn't expect them to go this creative, and they did, and I was in awe of it. So, yeah, I give it a 10. Easy. This is some of the best Marvel content I've ever gotten. Yeah, a 10.
I want to move Captain Carter up higher for me, unfortunately, I
No,
think.
no, 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 no,
No, because I have the exact same feelings. I have the exact same feelings for both shows, both episodes so
But
far.
you
And
had
I want
enough
to put them at
criticisms.
9.
You had enough criticisms last week that ended up knocking your score down a bit. And I would say you're forgetting that because you don't want to diminish how you felt about Captain Carter. But I think objectively, you
Yeah.
speaking about the criticisms we had with last episode, which stands with like the fact that it took forever,
Yeah,
not
this is
forever,
like
but
a
it
9 to me. This is like a
yeah
9 to me. This is like a 9
yeah because
because
Captain Carter. Go ahead.
there's the animation issues that I had with it for sure definitely stood out. And then as well, I mean, there's more to this. There was it was too feel goody for me, but at the same time, like I understood the direction they were going with the episode, and I love what they gave us.
Well, I would say both episodes were feel good. I think obviously this one, like as I said earlier, this one has more stakes
Oh, I didn't
because
feel good watching Peggy Carter, like Captain Carter.
yes,
I
you
felt
did when
like
she's like, "Yeah, I got this. I just look at me. I just kill." And then Tony or Steve flying over with the Iron Man. So you
I
felt
felt more bad for her than Steve going into the ice, I think, because she got put into a portal to fight this thing for like years, where Steve just like
years. No,
died.
she. I think she killed it pretty quick. I don't think she was fighting it for years. I think she killed it. I think
You don't think
I like
he?
no
You
because
don't
that's
think
how
she
those
Gandalf the white that and like
no
wound up
because they
fighting it for a while?
no because they were using the space stone to drag her, and if you know how the space stone works, it's an instant teleportation device from wherever you want to be. It's instant. So I think while she was pushing it, she cut off its legs and dispatched with it, and then it popped out. I think that was it. I don't think she was in there for years. I don't think that was even hinted at.
I like to imagine that she Gandalf the Great and became Gandalf the White
Okay, you with your
in
Hobbit
the
references
Balrog.
every time. Um, Lord of the Rings. I love Lord of the Rings, ladies and gentlemen. I just But anyway, no, I like I said, I think the first episode, like Peggy Carter, a lot of rehash. This episode, very minor rehash, a lot of
Completely new content.
and
That's why it's
and
higher to me too.
that's why it's
That's what I
higher.
like. You know,
That's what we wanted. That's what I would like. Peggy Carter made me afraid that this was just going to
I'm
be
saving.
rehashes.
I'm saving my perfect score, hopefully, for the zombie episode
No,
because
there can be.
that's
You can have more than
you know what
one
I'm saying.
perfect what if
Yeah,
episode.
but this is like a
No, no, no. I don't
9.
want you to change your
9.
rating. This is
9.
your
No,
9.
no, no, because I said 8 or set. I said 8 or 9, and I think I'm leaving it at a 9.
You said 9. You
Yeah.
didn't say 8. But and you said 7 last week, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure you said 7. But I just think that again, we gotta be objective here in the sense that like not necessarily objective. Like I had a better time watching this, so yes, it's gonna be higher. But with the criticisms we had last week, they were big enough to knock it down a few notches. I in the sense that like that episode, Captain Carter, exactly what I expected What If to be. Nothing more, a little bit more with Steve getting the suit, but to the most part, it was like, this is what I thought What If was going to be. Challa Star-Lord episode, completely surprised every second. It was what, huh? And I think this was paced better with the fact that they didn't start it off with this is the change that made it different, which I thought they were going to do. But now anything, this episode also gives me the freedom to let my
Anything
guard
can
down.
happen.
Yes, exactly. So 10 out of 10 for me, 9 out of 10 for Lucas, which goes that if we're looking at the rankings, number 1, T'Challa becomes Star-Lord. Number 2, Peggy Carter is Captain Carter. So please remember to like the video if you enjoyed this content, subscribe, ring the
Please,
bell to
guys.
stay current. Thanks so much for joining us for another Pretentious review. Until next time, guys.
All right. Bye, guys.
Chala for Ravager forever.